And then there were 14. Nicaragua becomes the latest country to sever ties with Taipei in favor of Beijing. But how much does it really affect Taiwan's international standing? A backward slide. The US president calls for action to promote worldwide democracy as he opens his inaugural summit with Taiwan at the table. Art in motion. New digital technologies give a fresh perspective on ancient treasures. Zhai. That's Taiwan's word of the year, beating 36 other contenders, including vaccine and isolation. Here's a hint, it's also pandemic-related. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. One less diplomatic ally. Nicaragua is the latest country to break ties with Taiwan in favor of China. The US State Department criticized the move, but it was praised by China, who demands any country it has formal ties with should not recognize Taiwan as a sovereign nation. As James Chater reports, the move brings to an end 30 years of continuous diplomatic relations with Taiwan.
Allies no more.
El gobierno de la República de Nicaragua rompe a partir de hoy las relaciones diplomáticas con Taiwán y deja de tener cualquier contacto o relación oficial.
Nicaragua on Friday became the first country to break relations with Taiwan since President Zhai began her second term in 2020, but the 8th since she took office in 2016. The announcement leaves Taiwan with just 14 formal diplomatic allies. The majority of those are Nicaragua's neighbours in Central America and the Caribbean. And from Taiwan's president, a measured response.
我要告诉国人同胞，台湾的民主越成功，国际的支持越强，来自威权阵营的压力也会越大。
Nicaraguan officials did not elaborate on the reasons behind their decision, although Beijing has previously procured alliances through promises of financial reward. But observers suggest the breakup may be related to the new headquarters of a Central American development bank in the Nicaraguan capital. Taiwan, along with several other Latin American countries, called for its inauguration, due mid-December, to be postponed. Critics say the newly re-elected Nicaraguan president Daniel Ortega wanted to use its opening to distract from concerns over the legitimacy of the country's November election.
Taiwan deeply regrets that the Ortega government has decided to disregard this long-standing and close friendship between the people of Nicaragua and people of Taiwan.
In Beijing, Nicaraguan diplomats moved quickly to formalize their new relationship, which Chinese officials said was in line with the global trend. The Nicaraguan decision will stoke fears of further diplomatic losses. Honduran President-elect Xiomara Castro had said she planned to switch recognition to Beijing if elected, comments which her officials have since walked back. But Taiwan has also developed closer unofficial ties with European states in recent months, a development that will open a larger question about the true cost of maintaining formal diplomatic relationships. A number of Taiwan's allies have poor democratic and human rights records. The US State Department has criticized what they call Nicaragua's sham November election, before saying that relationships with Taiwan bring significant security and economic benefits.
Especially in light of Taiwan's stronger international role, I think this is most certainly going to welcome a conversation about the necessity of official allies, and whether or not Taiwan needs these official allies, because even if Taiwan has 0 official allies, it still is able to maintain its important presence in international order.
The loss of another ally will sting Taipei, but as the country's informal relations with major democracies around the world continue to improve, it may be a cost the government is willing to bear as it works to expand Taiwan's international space. Alex Chen and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
To understand more about Nicaragua's decision to break ties with Taiwan, Bing Wang spoke to Gong Guowei, chairman of the Graduate Institute of Latin American Studies at Tamkang University, and asked him if Taiwan was prepared for the severing of relations.
我们外交部他应该也做过这一部分的沙盘演练，只是他这个消息来得很突然了啊，因为我们现在还没有看到尼加拉瓜有承受到这个制裁的压力嘛，因为虽然我们是说美国已经通过了这个制裁的法案，可是毕竟还没有真正的着手施行啊。西方国家现在在对尼加拉瓜所做的也是针对个人啊一个很有指向性的一些制裁，没有针对他的这个整体经济。进行了这个大规模的伤害。
Were there any suggestions that the Central American Bank for Economic Integration played a role in the breaking of relations?
那台湾是这个中美洲整合银行的会员国嘛啊？如果说西方国家，尤其是以美国为首的国家，开始对尼加拉瓜进行很强烈的制裁的话，台湾在这个中美洲整合银行里面，当然是会处于一个很尴尬的一个环境里头了啊。但我们现在说这个情况现在不存在了，他已经跟台湾断交了。我们说，如果他还跟台湾维持邦交的话，然后在台湾在这个中美洲整合银行里面，你就面临一个抉择，你究竟是要同意制裁他，还是要不同意制裁他？所以我认为这个中美洲整合银行是美国如果他要加强他对于尼加拉瓜的制裁的话，这一定是他下手的一个对象。
So Honduras has also expressed breaking ties with Taiwan in favor of China. Do you think Nicaragua breaking ties will lead to a domino effect for other countries in the region?
所以我认为在未来，美国会尽量的在他的能力范围所及的这个情况之下呢，帮台湾继续来巩固邦交。那尼加拉瓜，我们讲回来说，尼加拉瓜基本上是一个美国没有办法控制的地方啊，因为它是反美的，然后之后美国对它的批评很多，像这次也是带头对它进行制裁，所以我们剩下的邦交国基本上在拉丁美洲都是美国相对能够掌握得了的啊，对跟美国的关系也是很密切的，然后对美国的依赖相对也是比较强的，所以我认为在我们剩下的邦交国应该面临的这个断交的可能性不是那么大。
US President Joe Biden has warned that democracy around the world is on a backward slide. Biden spoke to more than 100 world leaders at the White House's first virtual summit for democracy, which opened Thursday. Taiwan is participating in the summit, represented by Digital Minister Audrey Tang and de facto Taiwanese ambassador to the US, Xiaobi Kim. China and Russia were not invited. The US leaders said an ongoing recession of democracy was a defining challenge and criticized pressure from autocrats.
They seek to advance their own power, export and expand their influence around the world, and justify the repressive policies and practices as a more efficient way to address today's challenges. That's how it's sold. By voices that seek to fan the flames of social division and political polarization.
To find out more about the significance of Taiwan's participation in the summit, our reporter Rath Wang spoke to Wen-Chi Yu, a former US Department of State senior official and fellow at the Harvard University Kennedy School Ash Center for Democratic Governance.
Well, Taiwan is a beacon of democracy and in some way is a role model for many other struggling countries. So, it is also a time when authoritarianism is on the rise. President Biden promised to host this summit for democracy when he was doing the presidential campaign. So in some way, it is a way to unite democracies around the world. It's also a way to ensure that the U.S. will continue to lead in the world in terms of important values like human rights and democracy.
From a U.S. perspective, what kind of contribution is the U.S. looking for from Taiwan?
Well, I think Taiwan's story is so significant and so compelling on the global stage. So first of all, Taiwan's own democratic movement, for the last few decades and how it's come to today's, political system, led by a female president. I think there are many, many good stories to be shared and learned. And the way it's been fighting COVID over the last 2 years or so, using, different digital tools, Minister Audrey Tang's participation, in some way implies that there's a lot of interest in his sharing of using, digital tools to actually promote citizen participation and in some way to fight disinformation on social media, which is also a global problem right now.
What can we read into the invitation from Washington? Is there a sense that Taiwan's status is being elevated?
It's still a super important recognition of Taiwan when it comes to its contribution and lessons learned and just experience to be shared on the global stage. Democracies are being challenged left and right, even in the United States.
Taiwan has confirmed its first locally transmitted case of COVID-19 since early November, ending a 35-day streak of 0 domestic cases. The patient is a woman who was working in a lab at Academia Sinica, Taiwan's top research institute. She was handling rats that were infected with COVID-19. Authorities say she was bitten by one of the rats, but they have not confirmed that as the source of transmission. The institute has suspended work in her lab, and so far 123 of her close contacts have tested negative. New data from the World Health Organization shows COVID-19 cases on the African continent are surging at an alarming rate. 107,000 cases were reported last week, up from just 55,000. Researchers are looking into whether the Omicron variant is fueling the surge, but emerging data from South Africa shows that the variant has milder symptoms. African countries account for less than half of the Omicron cases reported around the world. An official tribunal set up in the UK to investigate China's alleged crimes against the Uyghur people has found the Chinese government guilty of genocide.
The tribunal, made up of academics, lawyers and business people, heard evidence from witnesses and experts in a series of public hearings. In a statement on Thursday, Tribunal Chair Barrister Geoffrey Nice said that evidence of measures to prevent births in China's Xinjiang region led to the verdict. He also accused the Chinese government of crimes against humanity, citing abuses such as sterilization, sexual violence, enslavement, torture, and forcible transfer. The tribunal has no official power to sanction China, but its members hope that the ruling will spur international action. Protesters outside the Chinese embassy in London welcomed the verdict.
Today is an important day. Today is a historical day of Uyghur and the Kazakh people. As you know, today is around 3 million Uyghurs and Kazakh other Turkic people are suffering in 21st century concentration camp. Today, Uyghur Tribunal, international and independent body, judgment and Chinese crime against Uyghur is a genocide and crime against humanity. So that's why we are coming together here, gathering. We give our appeal to the Chinese government, stop the Uyghur genocide.
A Philippine journalist who contributed to award-winning coverage of President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs has been shot dead. Jesus Malabanan was watching TV in his family store on the island of Samar when a gunman appeared and shot him in the head. Malabanan was a correspondent for the Manila Standard newspaper and contributed to Pulitzer Prize-winning coverage of the war on drugs by Reuters, uncovering killings by police in President Duterte's hometown, Davao. He later went into hiding. He is at least the 22nd journalist to be killed in his country since Duterte became president in 2016. At least 54 people have been killed and more than 50 injured in a truck accident in southern Mexico. The vehicle overturned in the southern state of Chiapas. It was carrying more than 100 people. Authorities believe most of the victims were migrants from Central American countries who were trying to reach the United States. The UN's Immigration Organization for Migration says more than 750 migrants have died while traveling through Mexico since 2014, and thousands more have disappeared. Coming up after the break, the Great Escape. A family of capybaras make a bid for freedom at Taipei Zoo. Stay with us.
So, 你觉得山给了你什么？
没有办法用几句简短的话语来带过，但它造就现在的我。
山就是给了一个我们远离世俗的环境，你可以忘记很多事情。
不要怕去探索新的东西吧。
很深层的去认识一块土地，去认识一个很深邃的自然。
在山的面前，你只会一直感觉到自己很小。每一次都有不同的考验哦。
妈妈表现怎么样？
很好，10分坚强。
山是有魔力的地方。
那如果今天不让你爬山，你觉得你会死？
生命肯定会延续下去，但我想心灵有一部分会枯萎掉吧。
台湾最有人情味的地方。
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus. For more great news from Taiwan and around the world, download the app Taiwan Plus.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. A reminder of our top story. Nicaragua becomes the latest country to break ties with Taiwan in favor of China. The move brings to an end 30 years of continuous diplomatic relations. Taiwan now has 14 remaining allies, and one of them is the Caribbean nation of Belize. The Speaker of Belize's House of Representatives, Valerie Woods, was in Taiwan for the Open Parliament Forum held last week. Our reporter, James Chater, asked her about Belize's commitment to its relations with Taiwan.
Belize has had just about 32 years. I believe this year marks the 32-year history of relations with Taiwan. It's been a good experience. It's been a relationship of mutual respect, and one where Belize recognizes Taiwan's many contributions to the international community. It has been a very good relationship in terms of the bilateral arrangements, and we are quite frankly looking forward to deepening our cooperation now that we have the economic cooperation agreement finalized.
And you've previously been very vocal in your support of Taiwan on the international stage, including calling for Taiwan's participation in organizations like the WHO and the World Health Assembly. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about what motivates this continued support for Taiwan on the international stage.
Taiwan has been a very good friend to Belize. We've enjoyed diplomatic relationships for a long time, and we have mutual respect. We recognize the many contributions Taiwan has made to the international community. During this health crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, Taiwan's presence has been known in many countries with the assistance of the PPEs, technical assistance as well. And so if we are going to say that no one is safe until everyone is safe, then we need to have Taiwan included in the discussions. They have a lot to share, a lot to teach, lessons learned that they can also make available to the international community.
And where does Belize currently stand on its formal diplomatic relationship with Taiwan?
Our relationship is good. We remain steadfast in our support of Taiwan. We stand in solidarity. My keynote remarks that I made at the Open Parliament Forum reaffirm that, and we continue to state that.
Taiwan has been ranked 3rd in Asia and 16th globally in the annual World Talent Ranking published by Switzerland-based Institute for Management Development. The survey assesses a country's ability to attract and retain a skilled workforce. Taiwan rose 4 places from last year. The National Development Council said that the result can be attributed to government efforts to maintain local labour market stability during the COVID-19 pandemic, while also working to make Taiwan an attractive destination for foreign talent. New Zealand has announced a remarkable plan to end smoking by making it impossible for the next generation to ever buy cigarettes. A new law would raise the minimum age to buy tobacco every year. This means people aged 14 when the law takes effect will never be able to buy tobacco in their lifetime. The government also plans to lower the legal amount of nicotine in tobacco products to very low levels and restrict the places where tobacco can be bought. It hopes to introduce the legislation next year. And here's the story of a mother capybara taking her 2 youngsters on an illicit picnic in Taipei Zoo. Ken Ning reports, despite delighting the visitors, the zookeepers soon put an end to the capybara family adventure.
It was a walk in the park on a sunny afternoon for Mei Mei and her 2 kids, Jia Jia and Tong Tong. Zoo guests were surprised to see the animals making a slow-speed getaway. So how did they escape? The capybara family slid past zookeepers in their bid for freedom before enjoying the sights and sounds of Taipei Zoo.
妈妈带着小朋友就游到比较靠近联合兽社这个岛，被妹妹看到说那个门竟然是开的，所以她就觉得也许也可以出门逛逛街，那疏解地方妈妈的郁闷。
In the end, the adventure would last about 20 minutes. Since the animals are harmless, the zookeepers decided to accompany them on their stroll and gently guide them back home.
再去检讨有作业的各种流程，希望同仁就说罩子要放亮一点，该随时有人守着门要守着门。
With the doors now fully secured, the next time this family wants to escape, they'll need a key. Or perhaps a monkey. Ken Ning for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has chosen the Chinese character Zhai as the word of the year for 2021. Zhai means both home and the act of staying at home. It came top in a poll of 36 possibilities, which included words like vaccine and isolation. It reflects a year that continues to be defined by the COVID-19 pandemic, with many people having to stay at home. The annual Word of the Year selection is now in its 14th year. It is co-organised by Taiwan's CTBC Foundation for Arts and Culture and United Daily News. Taiwan's National Palace Museum uses a new technology to present an ancient Chinese painting. Now, art lovers have another way to appreciate the museum's extensive collection. TaiwanPlus reporter Alex Cheng has more.
The lines grow darker and then the color changes. This may look like an animated scene from a film, but it's actually a painting from the Ming Dynasty. Slowly but clearly, everything comes to life. The bird flies, the fish jumps out of the water, and the fisherman takes his catch. These movements are carefully designed to give the painting a new interpretation.
有一个好处就是说，它可以在一幅画里面呢，依据不同的时段跟它的活动，把所有的那个形象跟它所欲表达出来的，都在画像里面同时出现。
Traditionally, Chinese painting uses similar skills as calligraphy to depict landscapes. It's one of the oldest continuous artistic styles in the world. In 2011, The National Palace Museum began using animation to project these paintings in high resolution onto an 8-meter wide screen.
画作本身的尺度本来就不大，所以很难去察觉这些细节。那我们从古画这样的一个动漫呢，可以把每一个细节都展现出来，所以观众呢非常喜欢这样的一个展览。
The museum plans to use digital technology on its other collections of traditional art, hoping the new method of exhibition will give viewers a fresh perspective to appreciate the work. Kama Xu and Alice Chen for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for watching Taiwan Plus News. I'm Yin Khvat. We leave you with images of an exhibition in Italy featuring inflatable artworks by 14 different artists from all over Europe. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the Taiwan Plus app and check out our website. Stay safe and see you next time.